It's hard to say that we're in a new century, but the last time Florida had back-to-back matches to open up SEC play in back-to-back seasons was quite a long time ago, 07 and 08. We're underway as Gregory makes the first pass for Florida, and there's Thayer Hall with a roll shot. Auburn will play one to the right side. And there's Dooley and Hall at the net. But the block was out of bounds.
Auburn coming into this match after sweeping their last two opponents, but it's very important to point out that Auburn's offense had been able to overpower a much shorter team. They're up against blockers that are 5'9", 6 foot tall. Very different scenario tonight against the Gators, Tom.
Florida will go to the right side to Holly Carlton. Nice play up behind the block by Tatum Shipes. And there's an attempt by, we'll say her name a lot tonight. She leads them in attacks and kills. Ania Bindan couldn't make the left-handed shot get across the net. We're tied at 1.
And Bindan trying to work with that set, but also up against Lauren Dooley and Holly Carlton with, like I said, much more height than they had faced in their last two matches.
Here's Thayer Hall serving for Florida. And she has on the year now her 21st service error with 12 aces for this team.
We've mentioned this before on air, Tom. Florida's in an interesting position where there are no Gators that have more aces than they do errors, and that's a rare spot to be in for Florida, a team that's accustomed to controlling the play from the baseline.
Lauren Dooley with a quick set in the middle for the kill. Here's a player last year did not play a lot, and she has had a fantastic start to her sophomore season.
692 against Florida State. 9 kills, 13 attempts, 0 errors. And then followed that up against Long Beach State with a similar performance, hitting .565. 14 kills and only 1 error. She's on fire this season.
Auburn in the net. Florida earns the point. And Florida, after the violation with a slim 1-point lead at 3-2, is Allie Gregory, one of 4 seniors on this Florida Gator squad. The SEC Defensive Player of the Week. 24 digs against Louisiana Lafayette last time out, a career high. And there's another dig for Allie Gregory. Back row attack, Hall. It's down the pipeline.
And much of what we saw in the package to open up tonight's broadcast with Marley Monserrat connecting so well with her middles comes from digs like that in transition from Allie Gregory. And then, of course, keeping the Gators in rhythm and allowing them to go to Thayer Hall out of the pipe.
What a seam between McClellan and Bindan that she found on that attack. Did that hit somebody? It looked like it might have caught Tatum Shipes, but no call forthcoming. Our officials tonight, the R1, the up official who runs the match is Chad Klunk. The R2, over on the far side from where we are, is John Klein. And we have a replay official now that we open up SEC play in Barb Strom. So
what
we're
a
having
serve.
replays tonight. She'll watch those. Carlton from the right.
Gators unfazed with a very aggressive float serve from Auburn.
Will Florida go again to the back row? And
Why
again,
not?
Thayer Hall delivers.
When you've got a player like Hall that's such an offensive threat from the front row, out of the back row, gets a lot of looks in any given match, makes it very difficult to defend because you've got capable front row hitters for Florida as it is right now, and then you've got to pay attention to the other hitter out of the back as well.
Thayer Hall 6th in the SEC coming in kills per set. And Bindan will miss that one long on the attack error. Florida now with its biggest lead here in the opening frame early, 6-3.
A lot of times when you see swings like that, Tom, it looks like an error when in fact it is on the stat sheet, but Bindan looking to hit hands on the Gator block and try to score the point that way.
Florida on a 5-1 run as Auburn goes to the back row and slapped back by Paige Hammonds as Tatum Shipes did not get enough air underneath that one.
Speaking of hands, Hammonds with the ready block up and just directs the ball back down. Now, as you watch this replay, she could swing on this, but in a much more controlled fashion, rather, she's able to direction block back down.
Quick backup on the block was Paige Hammonds, as you saw there, down on the floor and got back up and got it. And a net violation again against the Auburn Tigers. And Auburn head coach Rick Knoll wants an opening match of conference play for the Gators and the Tigers as Holly Carlton for 12th ranked Florida serves after the Auburn timeout.
And as we look down the stat sheet, you can see the little bit of the frustration with the Florida block as Auburn already has clocked 3 errors in their hitting attempts.
Nice up from Thayer Hall in back middle for Florida, and Hammonds will take a swing. Auburn keeps it alive. Can they get it across the net? They will. Free ball for the Gators. I thought Marley might try that.
That's a difficult situation to get in if you're an opponent of the Gators. Auburn's so far out of system that they have to send that narrow free ball over, but that gives the Gators the opportunity to run their full offense. The offense that's shown to be very capable so far this season.
9-3 Florida, 5-0 scoring run, 8-1 scoring run on a bigger picture. As a nice up and back left from Allie Gregory. Again, the back row attack for Hall, and again, this time she goes to her right and gets the kill.
And you can't understate Shipes hitting out of the back row. That was a huge swing down the line. She's had a few options at that now, but can't get past Allie Gregory. Allie Gregory is already warmed up and ready to play.
Third kill for Thayer Hall, who's had double-digit kills in every match this year except one against top-ranked Stanford back on September 4th. Big block for Rachel Kramer.
And Bindon taking a set that was far off the net. She had to transition back out. Uncharacteristically slow for Auburn. You can see she has to kind of go to a roll shot here and then cover her own attack against a huge block, as you said, Tom.
Rachel Kramer with the block solo. Now she is 10th all-time on the total blocks list in UF history. That is...
Which doesn't bode well this early in the match. We've seen Florida get off to a few slow starts, but already showing a lot of dominance in this match.
Auburn will go to the outside again to Bindon. Florida will return the favor to the outside.
Hammonds.
Paige Hammonds.
Looking for that low angle and finding it. Florida's going to look to try to score the majority of their points out of the middle third of the net. Try to get Auburn to disrupt some of their defense and blocking scheme by working inside and then wide to the pins again.
The overpass just played up by Hammonds, and there's Marley Monserrat, a weapon at the net. That's a play that Florida did not see a lot of last year with the two-setter offense. You saw Marley on occasion be able to, but...
And Monserrat swung with her left hand on that one, turned and swung with her left hand.
Yes. A 9-0 Florida run. Auburn's already spent their 2 timeouts here in the first set. There's a nice look at the right pin for Chesney McClellan.
And you can see a little bit of the Auburn speed that they try to run with. That's the big question, is with having to replace so many transfers suddenly, can Auburn maintain that system that they like to run? And it's really a frenetic pace. They go pin to pin, they go as wide as they can, and they run it quickly.
Rick Nold in his 9th season on the Plains as Rachel Kramer touched at the net, so Auburn will play it out to the outside for Val Green, who's in the match. Back to Kramer. Just kind of redirected. Wasn't the most aggressive contact, Josh, but found an open spot.
Well, and what you're seeing on both of those contacts, first on the slide and then in front of Monserrat, is a little bit of a timing issue. The connection not quite solid. But Kramer, with her court sense and being able to back off on that swing a little bit, almost turns into a tip.
So Paige Hammonds will serve and blasts one beyond the end line. So still a 9-point lead, which in rally scoring in volleyball is a big mountain to climb.
That's huge, but Florida cutting Auburn a break. You don't want to do your conference opponents any favors by scoring a big point and then going back and missing your first serve that long.
Allie Gregory to Kramer in the middle.
Still with a little bit of a connection issue. Kramer hitting behind her head.
And Thayer Hall gets her 4th kill in 5 swings. Last weekend, she was just out of this world, hitting above 350 for the weekend. I can't find the number right away, but what a weekend she had last weekend.
And just looking at a couple of her numbers, particularly Florida State and then this past weekend against NAU, hitting above 460. And for a pin hitter, those are big numbers. There was a point, and I don't remember which match it was, that after the second set, oh wow, what a block.
Stop block, Hall up alongside of Dooley, right in front of us. We got a bird's eye view of that one.
And look at the penetration on this. Pretty much a solo block in this respect. Hall up and over and right back down. Showing that, and I was about to mention that after the second set in one of those weekend matches, Hall was already hitting 500 with a lot of attempts, but showing that she's defensively minded also.
Val Green is touched and played up by Sarame, who's in the match for Florida. Hammonds goes to her right, down the far sideline. Kill as Peyton White, the libero, could not come up with the play in front of the Auburn bench.
We've discussed how effective Florida is out of the middle. We've just seen how effective Florida can be out of the pipe and out of the left pin, and then from the setter position. That's a lot to pay attention to if you're Auburn.
Call goes outside. Again, it's Gray. Florida will go outside to Hall. And it is called a touch, I believe, at the net. Yes, a kill for Hall, 5 out of 6.
Hall swinging cross-body on this last swing. Catches just a little bit of high hands that goes over the Auburn block.
Looked like it caught Jaden Brown, the middle blocker there.
That might be a swing that Hall has picked up from Paige Hammonds, the other Gator outside. That's her go-to shot.
Trouble for Auburn. Call played it out of the net, though. As Marley Monserrat has her choice, but she'll set it across herself and get the kill. Very offensive-minded, her third kill in 3 attempts for Marley here in the first frame.
And with Cull having to scramble so much, she's all the way over at the left pin on this. Monserrat seeing that the out-of-system nature that Auburn is in and giving them a little bit of dose of their own medicine with sending it back over quickly.
Sarame can't make the play from Cull.
A little bit
says, you can do that, I can do that in the setter position.
A little bit of a setter battle between Monserrat and Cull. But that's how players, regardless, but typically setters always want to leave the front row is with a kill of their own if they can before they transfer back to serve.
Let me go serve after that.
That's right.
Here's Hall. Played up nicely back row. Molly Pember. And a violation against the Auburn Tigers. Illegal contact double hit as that ball came out awkwardly. Fisher out, Warner in for the Gators, and that's a luxury Mary Wise has. A very deep bench, and with a 14-point lead, you can get a lot of players onto the court here.
You're absolutely right. And you had mentioned Sarame earlier. She's another one of the Gator players that have worn the libero jersey already this season, in addition to Allie Gregory.
She started the Stanford match here on this court earlier. Dooley is blocked.
And in this case, Jaden Brown up as a commit block. Brown going exactly where Dooley's going, making sure that Dooley can't swing straight on, and that's exactly what she did. Brown ready to eat that ball alive.
Great look from our crew, as you were saying. Just Jaden Brown tracked her the whole way. That was one-on-one coverage, to make an analogy to another sport.
And there are two blocking schemes that we can kind of expect to see from Auburn, and it's going to be contingent upon what Florida's doing. If Florida goes heavy in the middle, you'll see that where the Auburn middle blocker will follow Florida's middle regardless of where she goes on the net. A little bit more of a commit block.
Another sub for Florida as Mia Sokolowski will check in. She's had a nice start to her redshirt junior season from Tucson, Arizona. And she'll be right in the play right away. Why not? Right on cue, Josh.
And Mia Sokolowski, at least with her approach reach, one of, if not the highest reaches in the Gator gym, but early on in her career, used for her blocking skills, and you can see on that replay why.
I feel like using a Darth Vader quote, all too easy. Cole will go from her knees and set the middle, but there's Marley Monserrat and back right for Florida.
Sarame having to pull the ball out of
that hit the antenna from Warner.
Yep, sending it just a bit wide. The lefty Warner trying to work the ball back in on what's a cut shot for her.
She had a chance.
Not enough room, though.
But not exactly correct. Chesney McClellan back in the Auburn lineup, and their libero Peyton White will serve here.
As you look up at the score, it's hard to believe 22-8 already in this match.
It has really sped by as Florida's been efficient on the offensive side as Warner is touched at the net and dug up by White. Right in front of us, played by Sokolowski, and Warner will bump it across. Free ball for the Tigers.
Interesting look for Florida, as you mentioned, with no libero on the court and not needing one.
Warner and Dooley, the big stuff block. 23-8.
Florida showing that they can score points on defense as well.
It's all Warner.
Haley Warner, you're right. And this is one of the rare instances where this is a huge compliment, but such big hands, such a physical player. And at the right side, that's exactly where you want a player like that, where she can take any of those out-of-system sets that go to the pin.
Service error for Allie Gregory. And back to Warner for a second. Plucked right out of the backyard of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Fayetteville, Arkansas, the hometown of Haley Warner.
Auburn not able to follow up with a point. Again, that's got to be one of the most frustrating plays that you can see is when you score a point and then rotate back to serve and make an error on the first attempt. Lose any chance at building momentum. And Tom, that's what Auburn needs.
Riley Fisher in to serve at set point. It's been all Florida in the opening frame, and another service error, 5th for Florida. So half of Auburn's points have come from Florida's service errors in this opening set. Florida's been almost flawless offensively, hitting 500 collectively as a unit.
Well, to go back to your comment about the errors, that's a stat that neither team wants to brag about.
Thayer Hall with a solid pass as Monterey will steer one out to Sokolowski, who will take a big rip, but just miss it long.
And right in front of us, Sokolowski's taking that ball maybe 9 feet off the net. She's nearly at the attack line, which is only a step away from where she starts her approach. Very difficult to keep the ball out front there, but definitely not a situation you want to swing away on as she did.
Great serve, short ball played by Hall. Sokolowski will try to blast away and look at hands, but will miss. So Auburn continuing to play. This will be Florida's 4th opportunity coming up at set point. As that last serve by Molly Pember was fantastic. 3rd best on the team coming into SEC play with 10 service aces. Sokolowski has to play the short ball. She'll get it back.
It was right
and
after
blast
Sokolowski.
Away.
The whole point of that is making her pass and then disrupting the offense that she's trying to develop, but she was up to the task, Sokolowski.
Val Green from the outside with the attack error, and set 1 goes to Florida in dominant with some nagging injuries. A lot of volleyball she played after her senior year in high school, USA volleyball program, and then was shouldered with a heavy load for the Florida offense last year early. Wow, what an opening weekend she had against Nebraska and Texas. As Auburn opened up, going to the outside to Enia Bindan, and she'll get the kill there for Bindan. Her first kill of the night, now in 9 swings.
You can expect a lot of looks to Bindan, and you can see why on that last swing against a huge Florida block. A lot of court presence, looking to that tool shot off the outside of the Florida block.
Dooley in the middle will get the kill, drifting to her left from Marley Monserrat. Nice delivery from the sophomore setter.
And when you compare these two teams, that's the big difference. You can expect a lot of action from Bindan from Auburn, but when it comes to Florida, who's the ball going to go to? There are a number of options. Crowd goes silent there.
Yeah, it was. The silence was deafening as Thayer Hall's serve goes long. For the Gators, it's the 6th service error on the evening, and Auburn with a 2-1 lead here. If you've just joined us tonight on SEC Network, Florida takes the first set 25-12.
And in one of my conversations earlier on in the season with Associate Head Coach Dave Booz for Florida, a lot of the focus was on developing a well-rounded offense where the Gators don't have to rely on one hitter in order to score points. And I don't know about you, but I'd say that they're working pretty well toward that goal so far this season.
This Florida offense has had its versatility on display, as you just mentioned, with so many players contributing, with Carlton from the right, the 2 outsides, Hammonds and Hall, and 3 middles throughout the course of the season have played an intricate role in Florida wins.
You can see in this last play, Peyton White for Auburn having to run the offense with her arms from the back row.
That was interesting as Kramer's ball went across the net. Florida will go outside again to Hammonds, and there was some mustard on that hot dog. A little too hot to handle for Tatum Shipes in back middle for the Tigers.
Florida remaining engaged throughout the longer rally for that point. That's you see a lot of times plays start off very controlled, but if you look at that last swing from Hammond, she's going high seam, a very calculated shot. In the longer rallies, it often comes down to who can stick to the game plan the most and avoid that chaos.
Was there a touch at the net?
Bindan
was looking for it, but none forthcoming. So an attack error for Bindan, who's had a tough start to this match.
What a great look. I think it took
the words, yeah. I'm not even going to say anything more.
Read your mind.
Bindan's line is 1 kill, 4 errors, and 10 swings. And she is their main offensive weapon from the outside. One-handed set. That was a spectacular play made by the setter to set up McClellan. Call just stabbed it out of the air.
And even better than a one-handed set, how about a one-handed assist? It's one thing to be able to pull off this contact, especially behind, as Cull did, but to do so, to put your hitter in a position for success, that's some top-notch setting.
I just call that sweet. Monterey will run the offense and go to the middle to Kramer. Peyton White got a hand on it, but that's a tough ball to play above your head and try to control. Coming from the 6'8" 3/4 senior, Rachel Kramer.
And again, we talked a lot about Monterey early on in this match, but the fact that the middles have been so successful is really a testament to how well she's run the offense in finding the middles at the right time, as she did with that last play.
Service ace for Holly Carlton. On the season now, it's 8 for the redshirt junior from Sterling, Virginia.
Haven't mentioned much about Carlton so far in this match, but Mary Wise has said she is the player that you want on the service line in any situation.
Out to the outside to Val Green, off the hands of, I believe that was Kramer who got the touch, trying to make the block for Florida, as Fisher will check in. Let's take another look here at the net.
If you're Green and you want to swing high hands, you might as well swing at the highest hands in the gym. 6'8.5", Rachel Kramer.
That was off Monterey, wasn't it?
It looked like it was in that second angle. And that's a game plan that a lot of the Gators opponents would be wise to follow. And looking, and looking to the shorter blocker in that scenario. But Marley Monserrat is deceptively tall on her block. She swing blocks, is able to get up, and her main responsibility is to set the block and get the middles over there.
Paige Hammonds pretty much with that orange headband on each match.
That was not a near miss.
No, that was a miss. But Paige Hammonds, known for chewing the gum. It's the Trident Gator chomp for her. She likes to chomp on the gum. She and I have something in common too. She's never had a cola.
Oh.
Never had a soda.
I don't know whether to commend you both or feel sorry for you.
I don't have any cavities. That's probably a good effect from not drinking sodas.
And we talked about Thayer Hall's injury last season, but Marley Monserrat working through an injury through most of the preseason this season so far. When she's on camera, you'll notice that she's got her pinky finger of her right hand heavily taped. That's resulted in an abnormally large number of ball handling errors like we saw in that last play.
Steers it across. That's Marley Monserrat. Out to Val Green goes Auburn.
Good look for Green, that angle shot.
Perfect spot, though, played by Gregory on the defensive side for Florida. Here's a free ball for the Tigers. Cole says, get out of my way! That hit the antenna, rocked the net.
And that's got to be frustrating if you're swinging from the outside and making such a shot that Green did. She's outside the antenna on the previous swing and finding that low angle, but then having Florida handle the ball so easily and stay in transition system. It's a little bit disheartening. Kind of takes the wind out of your sails if you're a hitter.
Here's Paula Sarame, who's checked in to serve in this spot. Another one-handed set, but that one will be called a lift violation. No, a back row block.
Back row block as Monserrat was up at the same time as Cull, along with the middle, and you can see Dooley here. And, in that case, excuse me, Hall. As a back row setter, rather, Cull cannot make contact in the plane of the net with a Gator player, otherwise it's a back row block.
8th service error for Florida on the evening. 5 in the first set. As Sarame will check out, libero Allie Gregory checks back in. Those two have seen the time at libero, and Coach Wise told us early in the season that you might even see Fisher playing at libero, who makes the pass there. It was that close in the fall camp competition as Thayer Hall just blasts away again. 6th kill in 9 swings with 0 errors. The Florida outsides yet to have an error. Page is 5.09. Hall is 6.09.
And take a look at this rip right down through the seam. Thayer Hall can put a lot of pace on the ball, but when you put her in a situation where she's against 2 blockers with that big of a seam, you should expect a kill and maybe a dent in the floor.
Bendon is blocked, but the block off Florida goes out of bounds. She really took a big rip targeting those Florida hands on the block.
When you've got 2 blockers up against you and you've got the skill set that Bendon does, you look for tools like that. You take high hand rips, you try to tool the block so the ball lands out of bounds. There are more than one way to score a kill, or score a point than a kill.
And we have a net violation called against the Tigers. Bendon is a player who has really had her role expanded for the Auburn Tigers. Let's take a look at this net. And yeah, that's the middle blocker there. That's you
can see Chesney McClellan.
Yep, McClellan.
As she's rotating in on that swing block, and that's the risk you play is the spacing as you're closing for the swing block. A lot of times you'll see players do exactly what McClellan did and catch the net as they're rotating in.
Whoa! That's a contact you don't want a middle blocker to have to make, right?
Well,
going away from the net, trying to make a set, but you got to get it back towards the net somehow. And she pushes it off her hands awkwardly there.
And what does that lead to? an uncontrolled chaos for Auburn. Auburn tries to control the chaos of the game and add to it a bit, as I mentioned, with the pace of their play. In order to do that, you have to have a solid first contact. Doesn't usually come from the middle.
That one is out. They add to the service error total, do the Florida Gators, now 9 on the night. That's the one, I guess, negative aspect for Florida in this match. 21 points for Auburn on the evening. 9 have come from Auburn receiving Florida's 9 service errors. Carlton blast from the right.
You see a little bit of the first action from the right pin from Carlton.
Only her third look.
Yeah, it's the third look, but first big swing that she's had, and that's part of trying to disrupt Auburn's block. Florida has got the mastermind of Dave Booz taking a look at what's going on with Auburn's block, and as Auburn tries to adjust to the Florida offense, he's going to direct the ball somewhere else.
Why not? We're double digits now as Allie Gregory floats one long. And the majority of them have missed long. We've seen a couple short from Hammonds, from Hall, but at least you miss it where the passers have to make some kind of a decision on the ball.
Well, and Allie Gregory historically has been, in her time here, very efficient and also high ace. Something that she hasn't warmed up to yet this season, coming into this match with only 5 aces but 13 errors on the service line.
Holly Carlton blasts from the right side as she now has 2 kills and 4 swings. With so many options, you can't sleep on any of them if you're the Auburn defense or the Florida setter. Where do you go?
But that's exactly right, Tom. That's the goal, and this is not something that's unique to Florida. You run your offense, and if you have a lot of options, you try to play puppeteer a little bit with your opponent. You get the block to key in on a specific player
and
or
go the other way, right?
Yeah, it's the rope-a-dope, essentially.
Misdirection.
That's right.
As we have Chesney McClellan, second year at Auburn after playing at Nebraska.
What a pass from
Oh, and
Gregory.
What again for Marley Monserrat. 4th kill in 5 swings. And this set has been more closely battled. We go 8 3/4. You're looking right at Rachel Kramer behind her. Her setter, Marley Monserrat, a senior and a sophomore.
Kramer hitting perfect so far on the match. Only 2 kills, but on 4 attempts, no errors.
Hammond serves. That's been the one Achilles heel for Florida tonight with the service errors. As Hammonds will make the dig there. Florida goes outside to Hall. That's a, what do you call, just get the ball over the net attack.
Smart choice, though. The Gators are still in play.
This time, Hall has a better in-system look in transition, and she'll rip it for her 8th kill of the night.
Peyton White set up deep angle, looking for a lot of heat, and Hall delivered that heat, but about 5 feet in front of White as the libero sprawls to make this contact, just a little too late.
Again, everyone in Exact Tech Arena silent as Hammond serves overpass. Who's going to take it? Did Kramer steal it from Hall? They share a laugh afterwards. Sorry, you got long arms.
They're both up for it. And look at this also from as they come in tonight, still struggling to find, as I mentioned earlier, that first contact. But when they do, they're a team that can spread the offense nearly as well as Florida.
After the Auburn called timeout, a lead of a half dozen for Florida. Gators on a 3-0 scoring run with another superb serve here from Paige Hammonds. Paige Hammonds on the night with the service ace. On the year now for Paige Hammonds. That is 14 service aces.
There she is, chomping away at the gum, like you said. That last float serve got to the net and just disappeared.
Florida has scored 24 of its points when serving. Contrast that again with Florida giving Auburn 11 service errors. Great off the forearms from Hammonds.
Good block coverage by the Gators.
Here's Hall on the outside this time. Hits it off of Jade Brown, who was up alongside of Call far side.
And when you have so many defensive players, you've got that depth. Gators having Fisher and Gregory on the court right now, but Paige Hammonds, the outside, should be included in that mix also. She was brought here for her first contact ball control. When you've got that, not that first contact. When you've got that in your Thayer Hall, you can swing with impunity and expect the Gators to cover the attack as they did in the last exchange.
Here's Morgan Cull, junior setter out of St. Charles, Illinois, serving for Auburn. Florida will go outside to Hall and off hands. Great tool job on the far side from where we are off of Shipes and Jaden Brown.
Oftentimes you see from players that are as physical as Hall, a player that can hit hard or harder. Hall can do that, but even just in her sophomore year now, doing such a good job of developing her shot selection, saw that a little bit on that last swing, taking a bit off and placing the ball instead, coming up with kills that way as well.
12 matches Florida has been in on the year. 11 matches, double-digit kill totals for Thayer Hall with that last kill. She's got 10. That one hit the antenna from Tatum Shipes. This Auburn team, as you mentioned, a team, we mentioned it briefly in the open, looking for an offensive rhythm.
Some of the fine-tuning to your system without having to indoctrinate a bunch of new players.
Call goes to the outside, and that was a nice look for Shipes. Florida will keep it alive, though, as Fisher plays it out of the cheerleaders. Here's a free ball opportunity for the Tigers. They'll go right side. And through the block, a nice look on the right side and kill for Val Green. We saw her operate in the first set on the outside. Here she is parked and loading on the right side, getting a look for a kill.
And Green spent some time at the right side for Auburn. And in that last swing, doing a really good job of, on a tighter set, hitting down and trying to mistime the block just a bit.
Monterey goes side to Hall. Peyton White's dig all the way back to Florida. A free ball opportunity again to Hall. And Hall this time terminates the rally with her 11th kill in 17 swings. And still not an error for Florida's two outside hitters.
And look at where Hall's receiving this ball. She's doing what we call a wrist away shot. She rotates through with her hips and turns the wrist back. But that ball was almost directly over her head, and that's not a space that hitters can usually generate that much power from. But Hall, exception to that rule.
Well executed slide for Jaden Brown, but Florida will play it to the pipe to Hammonds. Cull, the setter, will play it up, so Peyton White has to play it off the forearms. And an awkward play at the net. It went Florida side. Warner and Dooley could not make the play.
And you have to give mad respect to Jaden Brown. She's 6 foot tall, playing middle.
Against 6'8", 6'6".
Volleyball against
tonight.
A very tall team. And the advantage that she does have, I would say, is offensively in her mobility. If Auburn can get that first contact and allow Cole to get Brown the ball.
Hall will just send it across. Well placed into the middle. And McClellan delivers the kill.
A totally different look from McClellan as the middle situation switches to a 6'4" player. Look at McClellan using her reach, turning cross body to Dooley's right. What a swing.
Just made eye contact with Call, said, I'm ready. Give it to me. Feed me.
What
a play by Allie Gregory. And she can't get out of the tables. Now she's up. And an illegal contact, double hit called on Call.
That got the crowd going. Gregory was all the way back to the banner. And when she gets back there, uses one hand. She is right-handed, but uses one hand to uppercut that ball back into play.
And her foot got stuck underneath the table over there. She had to pry it out. And here is Anaya Martin in to serve for Florida.
Good look there from McClellan.
And Gregory with the up. Hammonds on the outside. Nice up by Rosenthal for Auburn to the outside. To Bindon, and Bindon is stuffed.
But
Dooley's there with Warner.
But you can't discredit Auburn on this as they're working the ball around. This is a huge Gator block that Bindon's hitting against. But that was maybe the first time in that exchange that we've really seen Auburn play like they like to.
Oops, the service error from Martin, whose uncle, former men's basketball assistant here at Florida, Anthony Grant, who served a term of duty with Billy Donovan here, 96 through 2006. And this is the Florida with 8 service errors in this set.
I was just about to comment, that's the Louisville transfer's second set. It's only the second time she's seen action this season.
Service ace for the Auburn Tigers from Tatum Shipes. She had a team high 14 coming in. Give her one more.
Auburn doing everything they can to at least get in a good position going into this decisive set.
Right side Warner, stuff blocked by McClellan.
And there are 2 plays, Tom, that really build momentum. Aces and blocks. And look at this.
And that's not McClellan, that's the outside hitter, Bindon.
Bindon's starting to warm up a little bit. If you're Florida, that's not something you want to see happen.
Out to the outside to Hammonds. And it's called in at the last moment by the line judge off to our right as the Gator outside hitters remain error-free through 2 sets as Paige Hammonds has the decider here in set number 2. The teams will head briefly off the court as Florida leads here at this set between breaks 2 and 3. 2 sets to none over the...
A number of hitters of different experience, different type, to adapt to running this offense all by herself as a 5-1 setter. And anytime you look out there, I talked about the smile, but you know, she's having fun. Look at this. Setting up her offense, and of all the players on the court for either team, she's the one that seems to be enjoying herself the most.
She's always smiling, and you contrast the 3 sisters who've played here at Florida. She is the happy one. You can't tell. As another kill for Thayer Hall, making an even dozen on the night in 19 swings. And to this point, not yet an error, but Marley always smiling. You couldn't tell if the Gators were up 10 or down 10. And she is always positive, encouraging her teammates, and always smiling.
You're right. You want to see that because that's the one player, when you're playing, you're looking at the setter on every play. If things are going right, second contact is always coming from her. So you want that reinforcement that things are going all right. Hey, we're having a good time out here.
Jaden Brown will go to the bench, but she got the last kill for the Auburn Tigers from the middle, her first on the night in 4 looks.
And Brown gets up so quick. Hard to defend against a player that's coming from below your field of view as a 6-foot player, but also with the speed that Brown does.
Ben Don on the outside had to readjust, so Gregory with the up for Florida. Back row attack, Hall. Played up by Cull, so the libero will play it off the forearms. White, someone's in the net. And it's called on Paige Hammonds. That's who I thought it was, but waiting for the official call from the R2 official, John Klein, a veteran official here tonight.
And that's strangely, actually, as Hammonds was on the way down and transitioning off the net for the next contact.
For Auburn, just their 3rd service error of the night. But they have not, what we like to talk about, served it aggressively, served Florida out of what they want to do offensively. Florida's had Marley Monserrat with many options to go when that ball comes to her from a pass.
Well, and even, as you mentioned, with the high service error from Florida, I may have done that with my mind. But even
what, are you using a Jedi mind trick?
Even with the high service,
you will serve long.
That's right. Even with the high service errors from Florida, Florida's able to keep Auburn on their heels for the majority of this match. And to think that that doesn't carry over when you go back behind the service line would be a mistake.
Auburn has scored 33 points on the night, and 14 have come from Florida errors.
When you go back there, as we just saw from Shipes, go back there and you've got the weight of the match on your shoulders and thinking that you maybe need to do just a little bit more with this one serve and overextend.
Back row attack. It caught the net and spun across for Tatum Shipes.
And that's up with 2 blocks up from Florida. Good look for Shipes as she swings back toward the middle of the court. The advantage to that is even if it does get cleanly past the block, then you've got a setter likely handling that contact. Not in this case with Monserrat in the front row, but you want to try to get teams out of system by hitting to that right back position.
Ben Don to serve for the Tigers. Monserrat with options to go to. She'll take the outside option, and Hammonds rips her 7th kill of the night. 20 kills for Florida's outsides. 33 swings, not yet an error.
And I mentioned that Florida wants to score a lot of their points from the middle third. You see Hammonds go up well inside and directly over 5'9" Morgan Cull.
One-on-one against their setter at 5'9". You like your odds.
You're right.
If you're a hitter, or if you're a coach looking at it. Oh, Paige Hammonds couldn't handle it. It goes as a kill for Val Green of the Tigers.
Hammonds takes a deep breath. You can tell she's frustrated with that contact. She had to reach behind her and over her head to try to dig that ball blindly. And yet she's still expected to come up with it. That's the tenacity that you see from these Gators so far this season.
Val Green's had a great start to her sophomore season. Seen action in every match and 3 double-digit kill matches on the year to this point. Played out of the net there nicely by Jaden Brown. Auburn goes back to the outside to Val Green. Gregory with the up. Out to Hall.
You're seeing both teams having to run a little out of system off of forearm sets.
Back row attack Hammonds. Oh, Hammonds. That one wasn't hard hit, but in a good place. And forced Auburn to scramble defensively.
Well, and Chesney McClellan was there and able to play the ball, but didn't call on. So a little bit of miscommunication maybe on the Auburn side in a play that I think you'd agree they probably could have kept in play at least. Might not have been the prettiest.
Kramer with that bullet serve. Green on the outside.
Rachel Kramer having to...
Middles love to say they can make that play, don't they?
Yeah, but not what you would consider an assist-worthy set. She's getting all contacts in right now. I mentioned that Kramer, despite her height, has got good movement, and the one thing she is, according to her coaches, biggest, or I guess mostly keen on, is being a student of the game. So maybe not built to be a back row player, but she at least knows what's going on and what her responsibility is when she gets back.
First error of the night by a Florida outside hitter. There for Thayer Hall. 20 kills for the two outsides for Florida in 37 swings, just one attack error. Here's Hall again.
High hands on that shot.
And she'll get her 13th kill of the night.
A lot of Auburn Tigers swiping at that ball with one hand. That's a good look for Hall if she's not only hitting high hands, but directing to that right back corner against Auburn's offense, which is rotated and set up for an angle shot.
Both Florida outsides hitting over 500 on the match.
Unbelievable.
You would maybe guess that from middles. Usually they're a little higher in hitting efficiency to the casual fan who might say, who has the highest hitting efficiency? Someone's in the net, and it's Auburn.
And to finish that thought, Tom, you're absolutely right. Outside, and particularly when we talk about pin hitters, you can see here, speaking of the pin, oh, actually that's on Brown as she comes down. Jaden Brown catching a little bit of the net with her elbow. But to finish that thought, more often than not, your outside hitters at the left pin get the, oh wow, speaking of, we can finish that thought in a second.
Yeah,
gotta give proper credit to Shipes as she got down on that ball. But a lot of times, unlike this set here, look at Shipes just reaching back into last week. Big long swing, what a look. More often than not, the outside hitters are getting looks when things have gone awry. And Florida's working hard to develop, because of the athleticism of their outsides, an offensive system that relies on the outsides even when they're in system and getting a good pass.
Peyton White out to Bindon, and it's Bindon's attack long. So Florida retakes the lead 8-7. This is kind of the action I thought we might see when this match opened. Auburn, a gritty team. As you said, they want to play organized chaos, and they seem to be having the match at their pace and at their style of play currently here in this third set.
I would say a little bit of a role reversal so far, as Florida's been the unpredictable team in where the ball is going to go.
Dooley got out of the way to let Gregory play it, and Carlton blasts away from the right side.
And at 6-7, I wouldn't say Carlton's a sleeper, but more often than not, you'll see Florida open up with her and then go to the other hitting positions, get the block away from Holly Carlton, and then go back to her. And when you've got 6-7 lefty out at that pin swinging against one blocker, you can expect Carlton to have the advantage.
That'll go as a service ace for Thayer Hall. Her 13th on the season. And for Carlton, I would kind of describe her as the silent assassin because, I don't know, highlight reel plays, not as many as Hall, maybe not as many as Kramer, but she is so solid and consistent on Florida's right side.
Well, and I would say multifaceted as well. Florida's seen her run the offense. She did that before transferring to Florida. She was a setter, so she's got that capability. And like I said, a serving threat also, just very consistent. So I would agree with you. And then also in the way she approaches on offense to hit the ball, she does so in a way that it's very difficult to tell. She's not a body line hitter, so it's difficult to tell where she's going to put the ball.
Right on cue, talking about Holly Carlton. There she is blasting away again from the right side, this time down the line. Her last one was an angle shot going away from her body.
And she's
all the shots.
Yeah, she's the type of hitter that can put a lot of pace at angle, that hard-driven cut, but she can turn and swing over the seam as we saw in that last one. Oh, no.
That one was not close, unfortunately, as Mary Wise up off the Florida bench trying to cheer on the team to say, gotta go, gotta go.
And you can see the look on Wise's face at the same time. When it comes to errors, that kind is not okay. Auburn doesn't have to make a choice of whether they're going to touch the ball or not.
16 service errors on the night. What's the remedy? Go back to the right side. 5 kills on the night now for Carleton in 9 swings.
Here comes Carleton. And in the situation, like I said earlier, that most players want to be in, if you're going to rotate back to serve, do it with a kill.
Holly Carleton already with 1 ace on the evening, bringing her season total to 8. All calls off Martinsaray. Tipped across by Lily Thomason, who's in the match. Marley Montsray tries to catch Auburn napping. Back out to Thomason. Great block covered by Call.
And a great job by White stepping in and using her arms to run the offense when Auburn's out of system, keeping them alive.
Whoa. Did the attack hit the antenna or was Auburn in the net? It's Auburn in the net. Point to Florida. And Rick Nold has seen enough now as Florida races out to a 4-point lead.
As you look at this contact, not really giving Chesley McClellan.
Hitting over 500 to lead the way. Auburn, despite a low hitting efficiency number, has stayed in this match due to Florida service errors.
And we touted the middle from Florida so much. But as we look down the numbers, and you saw a little bit of that on the graphic, the combined outside stats have the Florida outsides hitting over 500, 41 attempts and only 1 error.
That is a big number. Rachel Kramer will earn that point for Florida with her 2nd block on the night. And an ace, a service ace for Holly Carleton.
Carleton going right after the libero, Peyton White. And
whites.
Yes, a lot of whites. But that's not something that you normally see, and maybe reflective a little bit of how rattled Florida has the Auburn Tigers.
Gators on a 4-0 run, overall an 8-2 run, and back-to-back service aces for Holly Carleton, making now 3 on the evening for Holly on ESPNU. Texas A&M opened up at home, beating Alabama on Tuesday night to open up SEC play. Then Wednesday night, LSU swept Arkansas in Baton Rouge. Stuffed block, but Auburn will try to play but won't. And there is a block assist for Rachel Kramer. Worth another look for the 6'8" 3/4 Rachel Kramer.
Up to 3/4 now. Such penetration over the plane of the net, and as a blocker, that's what you want to do. You want to make contact with the block on your opponent's side of the net. Another ace on that play.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
With that last block assist for Rachel Kramer, now tied in block assists, 8th in UF history with Ajan Gokbek. And I guess Holly's not immune to serving an error, but she's been pretty good tonight with 4 service aces.
And the Gators, for a stretch there, leaving Auburn nowhere to hide. You face such pressure at the net, and you go back to serve receive. You want to counteract that and throw some offense back. And when you've got Holly Carleton back there dropping aces on you, it's a tough situation to dig out of.
Her 4 service aces on the night ties her career high as Kramer blasts from the right antenna.
And there's an example in contrast to the first slide approach we saw on the match from Kramer. Look at the contact that the height that Kramer makes on this ball. What do you do with that if you're trying to play defense, particularly against one blocker?
I don't know what you do. You just look
out.
Roll
the ball back.
Roll the ball back. McClellan played up. Gregory will play it off the forearms, even though she's behind the line. She can use her hands at that point.
Exactly right.
Back row attack. Shipes.
You see the ball control from Gregory, allowing the Gators to run that slide again.
Kramer has 5 kills, no errors in 7 swings.
And there's the connection. Look at the pace here. This time Kramer running into the seam. So theoretically, forcing Auburn to move 2 blockers as opposed to allowing maybe 1 step by the outside to get in front. Now both blockers have to move to get in front of Kramer.
Call goes around Kramer for the kill. That's Morgan Call at 5'9" with the left hand.
And in some cases, like I said before, when you're blocking, maybe it doesn't apply so much when you've got setter dumps going on. When you're blocking and you've got a shorter player coming from below your field of view, it can mess with your timing and how you finish that block.
Hall with the tip. and call, maybe try to do too much with that ball. Send it across, play defense.
Well, like I said, when you're trying to work your way out of a hole, all of a sudden there's so much more weight carried by each contact. And as a player, you have to resist the urge of thinking, I'm going to get us back into this match with this one swing or with this one serve. Because usually what ends up happening is you overextend.
Fortuitous tape for Florida there. And that set was too far off the net. You saw Jaden Brown having to arc, reach back and try to make the play. It was too far off the net for her approach she took.
I'm going to rewind all the way back to the fortuitous tape, Tom. I didn't realize I was sitting here with such a wordsmith.
Well, I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps. You're the one with the dictionary right there inside your skull.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And that big brain. Dr. Crow.
Oh, what a block.
Marley Montsray with the block solo.
I used to tease Marley's older sister, Allie, as she's running the 5-1, getting solo blocks. Marley already ahead of her older sister and coming up with a very clean solo. She's the only one for miles. And like I said, with that swing block technique, her ability to get up and over the net, it's pretty impressive. Oh no.
It's match point. Florida fans in Exact Tech Arena at the O'Connell Center on their feet. Happy for what they've seen tonight to this point. Hoping Florida can close it out with one of the four seniors, Rachel Kramer, serving.
Kramer taking a breath. Oh no, not a big enough breath apparently. I think you might have hexed her. And the advantage of being so tall from behind the service line is she can serve that float serve at pace from such a high contact.
18 service errors as the fans still on their feet call serves for the Tigers. Look out. And Allie Gregory with the pass will get the kill to end it as her pass went over the net, and sometimes that's when confusion sets in.
Montsray tried to pursue and block in case there was a challenge on an overpass swing, but nobody home for Auburn.
The Florida Gators 12th ranked in the latest AVCA poll get their 10